All right, guys. Let's move on to our next topic. We're gonna do mine really quick. We're gonna do the state of comic books as of right now. So recently, DC and Marvel have kind of done a bit of a shakeup, and so
Captain America.
yeah, I'm gonna talk about that if you've read that. But basically, Marvel has for the first time really truly rebooted their universe by taking a lot of their Ultimate Marvel universe and their 616 universe, which has been around, forever, and they've kind of combined a lot of characters and killed off a lot of characters too. It was really cool. They had like a Game of Thrones thing going on with Doctor Doom for a while there, and Evil Reed Richards, and then everything kind of like solidified, and we now have a new status quo in the Marvel universe. But one thing that had happened in the wake of this is that, Wolverine had been dead. However, he was really, really old in like the alternate universe or something like that. So he actually came back, but he's just like super old. So there's like a new Wolverine. It's a chick. It's the X22 or X2 or whatever chick. She's got like the blade that goes there, and then the two blades that go
Like the
above
one
her
from
hand.
the Wolverine movie?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but she's donning the the Wolverine costume, the yellow and blue that we're like used to. So Logan's kind of there, but he's old, and for whatever reason pushed out. Like he's not even at that much of the forefront like he was in the 90s and early 2000s, because like that's all you had. Wolverine was like in every freaking comic. So there's just changes like that. Spider-Man now is like a billionaire. He's like a tech company. He's got his own Parker Industries tech company. Ironically, that
Makes
like
sense.
Dr. Octopus, when had his mind, kind of really generated a lot of revenue for him. Anyway, but the big twist right now is that Captain America was a Hydra agent the whole time. So they're like on this jet on a mission, and he kicks out his teammate basically to his death and says "Hail Hydra" with Baron Zemo. So that was like the huge twist that had happened right now, which I don't know if I like. I don't know what you guys think about that. That the revelation that Captain America was recruited as a boy to become a Hydra agent from the very beginning. Does that sound cheesy? Does it sound like they ran out of ideas? Does that actually sound kind of cool?
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. There's even some like somebody did like a concept art of what Captain Hydra would look like. It looks pretty badass. But yeah, so
Would his shield have like a big octopus on it or something?
yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever?
he's got like an H instead of an A.
Hmm.
I mean, I think I thought that was kind of cool when I saw that like on the little Facebook timeline or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, like Captain America
Yeah.
is like the bad guy? No
Mind
way,
blown.
because he's just like almost
this
like
entire
too
time,
too
though?
much of a goody two shoes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely goody two shoes, and yeah, apparently a sleeper agent of Hydra this whole time. Like apparently when he was a kid, they recruited his mother and him very early on, and
Before he became
this-
became Captain America.
This is back in World War II. Yeah.
That puts a huge curveball on Civil War, if you think about it.
Or is it separate from that?
It's after it.
Oh.
So
Okay.
they have
Like
all
that
Yeah, but
revelation is
technically-
after it.
Yeah, but technically, if he's been a Hydra agent the whole time,
Maybe. Yeah.
but
True.
I still haven't even seen Civil War, so I can't really talk about it.
For me, I don't know. It felt kind of like because they did that with Bucky Barnes, his best friend. It was a Hydra agent, so it felt pretty close and familiar. And so I wasn't like that kind of like, oh my god, because they've already kind of hit that note before. And
You
it
talking
felt
about like Winter Soldier
Yeah.
being like a Hydra
yeah,
agent?
it was like okay, his sidekick is a Hydra agent. It's like well, no, he's a Hydra agent. And you're like, well, you kind of already
Yeah.
you took the wind out of the sails a little bit.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, what
Yep.
I don't follow like comics that much, but what I'm hearing is you said like with Spider-Man having a tech company and stuff like that. Are they trying to turn him into like Tony Stark?
Pretty
and
much.
all that kind of, because that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, his arc has been this nerd who is extremely poor, and him and his aunt collectively can't even pay the bills
Perfect.
to like this underdog superhero to like struggling photographer, and then like finally like scientist who's like going through school and like eventually like gets enough capital or whatever and makes his industry. I forget like who started what. I'm pretty sure Doc Ock really helped his business grow, or he might have even started it because Doc Ock is just smart and aggressive like that and would put the
Right.
time into it. So yeah, so now he's kind of like this billionaire, Bruce Wayne-esque Peter Parker.
Mhm.
Who's still, I think, pretty innocent, but like it's definitely like where do you go with that character from here? And it's just a different dynamic. Like having Spider-Man constantly have other real life struggles that you can relate to was always interesting. Now that he doesn't have that anymore,
I don't like that he's like on another level, kind of.
right.
Because that was the cool thing about Spider-Man is like he's just like a kid, like
right.
dealing
with shit that kids deal with sometimes.
Yeah,
So.
and he's totally adult now, and it's weird. But so there is a theory about this Captain America thing in that there was this cosmic cube. So the one thing I forgot to mention, and that's why I mentioned Old Man Logan, was that upon this like new reboot or whatever with Marvel, Captain America had a fight with Iron Nail or something, the Iron Guy, or some kind of C-list character that like sucked his soldier serum from him. So he became super old. So Captain America was reduced to more of like a Nick Fury kind of role where he was in the background, and Sam Wilson, the Falcon, took over the mantle of Captain America. In fact, Marvel has two Captain Americas, one being the Falcon and then the other one Steve Rogers, who via this cubic, I think, or like some like little girl, she's kind of like the cosmic cube incarnate, which was the cosmic cube was the thing that Loki was using in the beginning, the Tesseract cube or whatever. So she uses that to give Captain America a super soldier serum back, and he becomes younger and he's back to being Captain America. But around that time, I think Baron Zemo was like in the background or was like around there. So the theory is that he manipulated this little girl to not only give his powers back, but to almost make it, but to alter his reality, his origin story. So if that's the case, then it makes sense that this was manipulated on purpose, and they might be able to like reverse it. But which feels a little bit better than like this whole time you had no idea he was evil.
Yeah. I guess when you said the thing about Winter Soldier already being an agent, that does kind of make it not as cool. And I hate the fact that it's always Hydra. I mean, I know that everybody has like their nemesis like organization in comic books and stuff, but
you would think, yeah.
But I'm just like I don't like Hydra in general. Like I don't get the whole tech Nazi thing.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
it never really resonated with me when I was watching the movies. Like, even the first Captain America, I was just like, God, I hate these villains, and I hate like him fighting. I mean, it makes sense, World War II, right?
Yeah. Why do you think you hate that though? I'm curious because I do too. I feel kind of like
I think it's, to me, it's the aesthetic of like the Nazi, like of Hydra.
Yeah.
It's like the kind of futuristic looking steampunk almost look to everything that's part of Hydra. And then I don't know, there's no like, I'm trying to think what it is. I think the aesthetic of Hydra especially is what really turns me off to them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just never feels like the villains are like, it's always just like, oh, like Hail Hydra, whatever. Okay, like, yeah, we get it. You're like a giant organization.
Right.
Like, there's never like a really badass like thing about anybody.
You're right.
Which I didn't know is Baron Zemo Hydra. Like, he's part of it.
Yeah.
Just in the comics, though?
Yeah, the Civil War, he was not really.
Okay, because I like that more. I like that he doesn't have to deal with, like, another fucking Hydra, like, thing, like, the entire time. Yeah, I'm just like, thank God. Like, I'm sick of him, like, always fighting these Hydra people.
And I guess they almost do the thing that they want to do a little too well. Like, Hydra has this thought that, like, their power is spread out evenly, right?
Right, it's like that's the whole thing. Like, Hydra, it's like you cut off a head, like, two more come back, right?
But the problem with that is that, like, everything gets really normalized, and, like, nobody really stands out to me as something that's, like, interesting and, like, tangible to, like, grapple to. It's just, like, this weird, vague organization of, like, a faceless person, and that gets really bland after a while.
Yeah, that's why I like them. They have Loki as, like, a bad guy across a few movies.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like him or think he's an intimidating villain at all.
No, yeah.
I think that's something they should do in the movies is, like, establish a villain. Kind of like how we were talking about on our Bond casting is, like, set up so we get some emotional attachment to the villain also.
Yeah.
Like Darth Vader in Star Wars, something, where you feel like you give a shit about both sides. But if you have an organization whose like motto is to, who cares if this guy dies? We got two more to take his place. Then nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Like, every time you keep cutting the heads off.
Yeah, because it just it reduces the significance of any loss on their end.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he finally beat them. No, like they're gonna just be back next episode or whatever.
And maybe that's what Red Skull was supposed to be, but the actor said he just didn't want to play that role after
Oh, really?
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson guy? Yeah.
He was like,
Agent
nah, I'm
Smith.
done. He didn't enjoy it, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe
Nice.
they had plans for him to come back, and that killed
Because
him.
that's kind of like a big
He's the biggest one, right?
Captain America villain, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
leader of Hydra in a lot of ways. Anyway, so that's Marvel. And then the other big reveal in the DC. So the DC had a giant reboot, and there was a lot of different stuff. I actually started writing it down so I wouldn't forget because there's some key points.
Well, they need a big reboot, I
They
think.
did well. So what happened? So DC actually rebooted. They've rebooted a ton. They have like a reboot every 10 years. But what was interesting is that the last reboot, which was only 5 years ago, and this is a reboot of the entire comic line, right? Like it's crazy. This is not just like one character reboot. This is
Okay.
everybody. This was like the New 52, which was 5 years ago. And so what they did is it was really like on the tails of the Nolan movies that we all love, right? Like Batman Begins, so it was all about like getting things darker and ground them in reality. And so
Yeah.
what happened is they like removed any character that had tights, like underwear, like tighty whities on them. They removed
yeah.
that basically, and then everything
really?
everything that was tights got replaced with armor. Everything was like thought about practicality. So Superman just didn't have tights anymore. He had like it was armor, and it was like armor in the sense that it was like kryptonite, like soldier armor. And Batman had armor. It wasn't tights anymore. And like they did that in the lines and like the little details and everything. And it was interesting because Jim Lee helped like design some of that stuff, I believe. But the problem is that it got really, really, just like Batman v Superman, it lost a lot of the charm and like the color and hopefulness, and everything became really like kind of gritty and serious, like really, really serious. And so what they eventually like started to do is they had this convergent storyline, which brought the other different universes all together under one hood, and that allowed them to basically put pre-New 52 Superman back in, which is the guy with the tights, right? And he was married to Lois Lane at the time because when this reboot started, Superman didn't even really, I don't think, have Lois Lane. His whole relationship was with Wonder Woman. So that was just an interesting dynamic that they like flirted with. And then basically they have they have two Supermen in this universe, and what they're trying to do now is with Rebirth, which is the new reboot, is to kill that Superman off. He basically died from like kryptonite poisoning or something like that. He just like kind of exploded. And this pre-New 52 Superman is now going to take over. And so people kind of sort of get the guy that they want. So you have a Superman's death. Also, a big thing was that they really like gender swapped and race swapped a lot of the characters. So Wally West, who was traditionally a redheaded white guy, became an African American, which was pretty cool, but a lot of people freaking hated it because they wanted the old redheaded fun Wally West guy.
But
so
do they recycle? They recycle, like you said, like there's different Captain Americas and stuff. Like that's not too uncommon, right? In maybe like the race or sex change is different, but having a different person take a mantle of a character, that's
different
not
person
super
take a
different,
mantle
right?
is one thing, but for a character Wally West to have characteristics of personality and a look, they just completely race changed, kind of character changed him completely. And so, so what they did is basically they made this like 80-page issue of Rebirth 1 to kick off this new universe. And the catalyst for everything was the old Wally West. He basically comes in flying from the Speed Force and was just like, where is it? What has happened? What, like, I can't really like understand, but like something feels off. Like it's just like this weird vibe. So he runs and he finds Barry Allen, and he runs and he finds Batman. He's like, things are weird, man. Like I have these memories, but they're like kind of fading and like they're kind of coming back. But I remember like this hope, and I remember people being in love. And so like Green Arrow doesn't know like Black Canary, like that was on purpose. And like Lois Lane and Superman, like all those like weird relationships that people lost, that they're honing in and saying that they're bringing back. So now there's two Wally Wests, which is just weird.
Okay.
But the two big reveals are that the reasoning behind the New 52, so the writers are retconning the retcon, is that Dr. Manhattan of the Watchman universe basically played God and changed the universe of the DC, which is really weird because Batman finds
It's kind of meta for like
it's extremely meta, and
like
it's
Deadpool.
but it's also like the Watchmen were never supposed to be in the DC universe, and all of a sudden now that they're like a higher plane of it's really weird because like Batman has the comedian's pin. He finds the pin
Oh.
stuck in the Batcave, and so there's this weird mystery of why, what is happening? Why can't we have our memories?
They're trying to make a DC cinematic universe, basically. Or
Kind of.
Yeah, I think so.
It's weird. And so here's the other big reveal: is that Batman figured out the Joker's identity. Kind of. He figured out that there's 3 different Jokers throughout the entire existence of the timeline. So there's not just one person. There's 3 different people that took over the Joker mantle.
And all of them killed his mother. His father.
Martha. Yeah. So Marvel's got its own thing. It's a lot more organized, but DC's got a ton of stuff that they're trying to clean up and redo, but it's still not without its flaws and convolutedness.
Sorry, go ahead, Ian.
No, go ahead. Mine's going to be slightly off topic, so.
Okay. So as a fan of comic books, whenever they want to have a new storyline for a character, a beloved character, does it always have to feel familiar for you to enjoy it? So like Bruce Wayne has had his parents killed multiple different ways by different Jokers throughout different comic books or whatever. And so whenever they do a different Batman or any character, it's always got to start kind of a similar origin. Maybe the details are a little different, right?
Sure. Are you talking in a comic?
I only have movies to go off of.
Yeah.
So every time there's a Batman movie, it's origin story, whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they always do that for the comics.
They don't.
So it's if I picked up a new comic or whatever for Batman, a recent comic, there'd probably be nothing that has to do with origins or anything like that anymore, right?
No, yeah.
It's totally separate. He's just got over his whatever guilt or something like that.
He's got a completely different arc. You'd either be starting or it's smack dab in the middle of a new arc.
Okay, so but if they rebooted him like a Batman, would it still need to be kind of follow a similar plot line for you to enjoy a Batman story, or could it be something totally fresh?
So for me personally, I think it could be fresh. It's weird. So when they rebooted, some people lost their continuity and some people kept them. Batman and Superman kept their continuity. Green Arrow started completely different. Had a little bit of an origin story, rebooted, had to go through the whole thing. Yeah. Even Flash, I think, had some interesting stuff. But there was someone that they got. But Superman still he lost his powers or something, and he was just being written to a point where people were pissed. So it wasn't familiar, and so that's why this new Superman was killed, or was oh well, this just isn't the Superman you guys know, so we're gonna kill him. So don't worry. So yeah, I think for me personally, that doesn't bother me, but for a lot of people it does. They definitely want to see that, and Spider-Man, I want to see him do the things that I like him for. And usually
wisecracks and
and usually that gets intact because the personality is what matters. But this is not and that's not to say they never rebooted Year One was done in the 80s for Batman, and that retold his origin story and made it a lot more grounded in reality and made it a lot more make sense, and it improved upon the base origin. So they do it sometimes, but it's in an effort to, I don't know, it's not like a what if. It's usually to try to improve it or take another spin on it, and people usually have a pretty good positive response.
I see.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, riddle me this, Clay.
Ooh.
That's what you were waiting to say.
Yeah.
No. Why, at least, I guess, you were talking about the costumes and everything. I kind of like the concept that you were saying that they're going more towards the armor type. That's pretty cool.
No, they're backing away from it now, though. Because they're trying to bring in more more of the hope and fun of what was DC. So now Superman has more of a tights kind of look to him as opposed to the armor look.
Why the hell do they wear their their underwear on the outside?
So the reason why they did that, so they didn't always, but back in the day, the pendulum have swung quite a bit actually.
Okay.
There was a lot of violence in them, and because they were drawings, people thought that they were for kids, but because they were so violent that they needed to bring it back, and so they put underwear in front, to be oh no, this is just a. They're fun. They're okay. They're not crazy.
They're wearing underwear on the outside.
Yeah, it was just a. It was just
but
a
they're
thing
still
to
smashing people's heads in and.
Well, they toned that down as well. So they made a conscious decision to make these things more approachable and less realistic and more oh yeah, these are just thought concepts.
It always reminds me of. Do you remember watching the TV show Doug?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, where I forgot the name of his
Quail Man.
and
Quail Man,
his
yeah.
whitey tighties on the outside.
It makes absolutely no
And
sense.
his
Belt.
belts around
Yeah.
his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like they just need to like remove that, and which they did, and they're not bringing that back, thank God.
Okay.
So Superman still does it, but Superman, you should check it out. He actually doesn't even have boots anymore. He just has like, it's just like a onesie.
No.
It's pretty much a onesie.
So he's running around in fucking pajamas?
Pretty much. Yeah, it looks like
Wow.
pajamas. It's bad. I'm not a fan.
Because,
of
like,
that.
yeah, as a non-comic book fan, like, the armor thing sounds way cooler to me.
Yeah.
Yes,
way
I know.
cooler.
I was really upset that they were moving away from that. He looks okay. To be fair, he looks more like Henry Cavill's Superman.
But even that is kind of armory looking.
Yeah.
Like, his suit is, like, it feels like it's the fabric is, like, metallic or something. Like, mesh, like a mesh metallic, you know?
I think that's where it gets lost on paper. It's hard to convey that without doing the lines that they were doing before. So while it does kind of look like shiny metallic-y, it still could be perceived as...
Yeah.
You just have to look up Rebirth Superman, and you'll see what I'm
I'm
talking
going to
about.
look at it right now.
Yeah. The Batman redesign is actually pretty cool. They put purple tint into the back of his
Ooh.
cape, like the inside of his cape.
That's cool.
Yeah, and like they're bringing the yellow outline in his emblem and his belt. It's kind of neat. I like
Oh,
where
so
they-
this just looks like, yeah, these just look kind of like classic-ish,
Yes.
like, suits and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
classic-
this is like what I picture when I think of those guys
Oh,
anyway.
you do? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I definitely don't picture them in like the full armor suits like in Batman versus Superman or anything like that.
Well,
you
okay,
know?
so you have this image. Now go look up New 52 Superman, and you'll see the difference in the armor of what I was talking about. Because I still think the New 52 Superman was a lot better.
New 52 Superman?
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I suppose I could find it as well.
I mean, so this is the armory version?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty
Okay.
cool.
Right?
Yeah.
I see.
So, like, yeah, and I even like the way they drew his hair. Like, his hair just looks way more wavy now, and he's got
Yeah,
way
yeah.
bigger of a square jaw. Like, they're totally going back to, like, Golden Age Superman to try to, like, be like, no, he's the guy you love. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Oh, hey, so I know we talked about it before. A good person that I think would be a good Superman would be John Hamm.
Yeah, yeah.
I
he was
thought
up for,
about that.
They thought he might play Bruce Wayne instead of Ben Affleck for a while.
Yeah, I think he would be much better. I mean,
He doesn't
He has
necessarily
more
have
of
the
a
body type. That's the only problem.
you know
He's
what?
kind of
Honestly,
like a dad bod.
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. But I mean, okay, hey, we're gonna make this movie. Here's a fucking personal trainer for a few months. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
bulk him up.
Yeah. He can do it.
God.
Okay. Well, anyway, I've talked enough about comics. Like a billionaire. He's like a tech company. He's got his own Parker Industries tech company. Ironically, that
Makes
like
sense.
Dr. Octopus, when had his mind, kind of really generated a lot of revenue for him. Anyway, but the big twist right now is that Captain America was a Hydra agent the whole time. So they're like on this jet on a mission, and he kicks out his teammate basically to his death and says "Hail Hydra" with Baron Zemo. So that was like the huge twist that had happened right now, which I don't know if I like. I don't know what you guys think about that. That the revelation that Captain America. All right, guys. Let's move on to our next topic. We're gonna do mine really quick. We're gonna do the state of comic books as of right now. So recently, DC and Marvel have kind of done a bit of a shakeup, and so
Captain America.
I'm gonna talk about that if you've read that. But basically, Marvel has, for the first time, really truly was recruited as a boy to become a Hydra agent from the very beginning. Does that sound cheesy? Does it sound like they ran out of ideas? Does that actually sound kind of cool?
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. There's even some somebody did like a concept art of what Captain Hydra would look like. It looks pretty badass. But yeah, so
Would his shield have like a big octopus on it or something?
yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever?
and he's got like an H instead of an A.
Hmm.
I mean, I think like I thought that was kind of cool when I saw that like on the little Facebook timeline or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, like Captain America
Yeah.
is like the bad guy? No
Mind
way,
blown.
because he's just like,
Rebooted their universe by taking a lot of their Ultimate Marvel universe and their 616 universe, which has been around forever, and they've kind of combined a lot of characters and killed off a lot of characters too. It was really cool. They had like a Game of Thrones thing going on with Doctor Doom for a while there, and Evil Reed Richards, and then everything kind of like solidified, and we now have a new status quo in the Marvel universe. But one thing that had happened in the wake of this is that Wolverine had been dead. However, he was really really old in like the alternate universe or something like that. So he actually came back, but he's just like super old. So there's like a new Wolverine. It's a chick. It's the X22 or X2 or whatever chick. She's got like the blade that goes there, and then the two blades that go
like
above her
going from the
hand.
Wolverine movie.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but she's donning the the Wolverine costume, the yellow and blue that we're like used to. So Logan's kind of there, but he's old and for whatever reason pushed out. Like he's not even at that much of the forefront like he was in the 90s and early 2000s, because like that's all you had. Wolverine was like in every freaking comic. So there's just changes like that. Spider-Man now is